This video is about how some people can subconsciously prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself and why you need to get away from them if you want to continue to grow. This is you. Everything you do in this life, where you go, what you say, what you do, and who you do it with, is a result of your thoughts, a result of what's going on up here. Big reason that people fight is because people identify with their thoughts. When we were growing up, most of us believed that thoughts come from the inside. We thought that they were innately a part of us and that we are our thoughts. We started building our whole identities around our own little internal monologues. And the bigger the idea, the more of your identity it represents. This is why politics and religion are such hotly debated topics, because they're such big ideas. If I say your political idea is a bad idea and you base your identity on that idea, then effectively what you're hearing is that I'm calling you a bad person. You think that I'm attacking you, not the idea. Something that might be even more common is that people just straight up attack the individual as a proxy for attacking that person's idea. Somewhere along the way, a few people started realizing they had it all wrong. In practice, a much better way to think about it is that the universe has an infinite number of streams of thought, so to speak, that our brains can kind of tap into like different radio stations. With this analogy, we no longer have to view ourselves as a series of thoughts, but rather as an empty vessel by which thoughts pass through. Now we're like the DJ of a radio station, not the individual song. The self is merely an observer. It was this distinction that sparked one of the most famous philosophical debates of all time, which is I think, therefore I am, versus I do, therefore I am. Spoiler alert, you should pick this one. In this analogy, the self is determined by our ability to pick and choose different ideas from different streams of thoughts and combine them to form new ideas, sort of like picking out ingredients to make a sandwich. This is different from the first paradigm in which we would just take everything from the same stream and hope that the sandwich turns out good anyways. Therapists know that this works, and that's why when people come in complaining about depression, they're told to use the term negative intrusive thoughts. The idea is actually pretty simple. If you don't take ownership of the idea and instead you assign a label to it, then you can categorize it as something that life just happened to send your way, but something that you're also allowed to throw away. You don't have to hold on to it because it's not actually a part of you. It's just a shitty song on the radio station. So how does this all relate to other people holding you back? In order to be effective as a species, human beings develop something called mirror neurons. It basically means that we can kind of tap into each other's radio stations in order to be more coordinated as a group. This is why they say you are who you keep in your company. It's also why you see videos like this where people who spend a lot of time together start to act strangely similar. Quick sidebar, on average, women have more of these mirror neurons than men, which is why women are more empathetic and men are more stubborn and determined to do something despite what other people may think. But back to the main plot. When your parents told you to stay away from a certain group of people, they were primarily talking about one thing: adopting behaviors. This basically means that if you hang around 4 guys who chain smoke cigarettes all day, those mirror neurons are going to sync up and eventually you're going to become the 5th. This idea is nothing new. I'd like to add another item to this list that I think is way more significant and isn't discussed nearly as often, and that is static identities. TikTok has... This is part 2 of the video on static identities. The idea behind static identities comes from the fact that everyone you've ever met in your life has an image in their head about who they think you are. Now, even though you've been present for 100% of your life, other people have only seen bits and pieces of it. They've only seen 1%. Now, maybe that 1% was good, maybe it was bad, but that 1% makes up 100% of the character that they have in their mind about who you are. Remember, whenever you interact with someone, your radio stations begin to synchronize, which means you begin to incorporate their perception of you into your thoughts. This influences what you say, what you do, and essentially who you are in that moment. So if you start synchronizing with me, and I'm thinking the sky is blue, grass is green, John's kind of a fucking loser, and you're John, you're going to be like, you know what, you're right, the sky is blue, grass is green, I am kind of a loser, aren't I? What you're doing is you're amplifying these little pieces. So if that person saw you do something embarrassing or saw some little moment in time where you kind of sucked, that's what's getting amplified. It means that whenever you're around that person, those shitty perceptions of you become bigger elements of yourself in the here and now. And this problem becomes magnified 10 times more if you're still identifying with your thoughts. See, it's not just about becoming like these people. It has almost nothing to do with them. It's entirely about yourself. In the most literal sense, whenever you interact with people who used to know a previous version of yourself, you become anchored to who you used to be. And it's this anchoring that kills a lot of your momentum towards becoming someone new. This is what spawned the idea, I'm not who I think I am, I'm who I think you think I am. And the trouble with static identities isn't just that they anchor you to a bad version of yourself. Sometimes they can actually anchor you to a fairly good version of yourself. But it's the anchoring itself that can actually be problematic, because it keeps you from going anywhere, including a place that might be better. It keeps you static. There's 2 types of people, those who are happy just the way they are, and those who want to get better. I can't speak for that first group because I've always been one of the ones who wants to improve. I want to be smarter, healthier, more skill sets. There's nothing necessarily wrong with who you are here and now. But if you decide to stay that way, then you're missing out on an infinite amount of growth that has literally always been just within your reach. Now, does this all mean that you shouldn't love yourself or that you should toxify your self-image? No. But what it does mean is that the more people you let influence your thoughts and dictate your identity, the harder it's going to be to become someone new. if that's who you want to become. Do with this information what you will. I wish you all the best of luck in becoming whoever you choose to become.